Welcome to Ring Talk, episode 159, the weekly Goodwin boxing show until next week when I'm taking a week off. With myself, Martin Theobald, and Steve Goodwin. How are you, Steve?
I'm all good, my friend. Everything's all good, and we're building up to some big fights over the next few weeks, so it's all really good.
Very much so. An enjoyable show Saturday night. Let's get right into it. The show probably worked out a little bit more entertaining in places than maybe you were anticipating, right?
Oh, for sure, it was a baby show, but there were some upsets. There was some really good performances, and I thought it was just a real good, entertaining show. I think boxers, which we can go through in detail if we want, but some of the boxers will take away and learn so much from that, so much. And others really developed their career and progressed it nicely. So it was a bit of it was actually quite a fun show to watch. It was a fun show.
I'm going to fly through the card a little bit. There's no offense to anyone on there. We've got a lot of stuff to cover tonight. So we're going to fly through it a little bit. Taiwo Masuru.
He's somebody that was due to fight on Friday at York Hall, but another show was cancelled on Friday. So Mo Prime manages him, and he asked me if I could slot him in. So we did it for him. He's called Titanium, and he was actually really entertaining. And I think he'll give his team a lot of fun going forward. Really exciting, come forward fighter, throws hard punches. I thought he was really exciting to watch. So I actually enjoyed watching him.
Charlie Cooper made his debut against
Justin. Really decent kid. First debut for us. Dropped Justin Menzies 3 times in 4 rounds. Body shots. Really talented kid. Can go quite a long way. And you know, I'm excited to watch his development. He's really talented and really decent, and a lot of fun going to be had with Charlie Cooper. That's for sure.
Brilliant. Brandon Lewis.
Brandon Lewis is not mine. He's managed by Josh Burnham. He was very impressive. He boxed really well. I think he's a really good talent, and I think you'll see. You know, he's not my fighter, but I'd imagine you'll see him in a Southern Area title fight within the next 12 months.
Ernest Whyte moved to 1-1 in his career now.
He
win 1 draw with Stu Greener. The draw.
Now what happened in that fight was very strange. So Ernie came out, won the first 2 rounds. Towards the end of the second round, started to tire badly, and in the 3rd and 4th, he just lost the 2 rounds. Some people thought he lost it 39-37. I think that a draw was a fair result on balance, but his fitness fell to 0. I don't know what happened, but normally when you see that happen with a fighter, it's one of 2 things. They're either cheating on diet or they're cheating on their runs, or that they emotionally and mentally can't cope. I don't know. I will speak to him. I don't know what it is. He's trained by Nick Premper and Xavier Miller. They both saw the same as I saw. They need to go away and identify why he ran out of steam, because he would have won the fight if he didn't run out of steam.
Yeah. Okay. Ibrahim Merkan beat Dylan Courtney.
Yeah, it was a pretty basic 4-round shutout points win by Ibs, trained by Anton Paddington. He moved to 5-0. I think he'll have another one in the summit in June. I think it's June where he's coming out again. And then he's going to have to start looking towards, by the back end of the year, looking towards some sort of title opportunity.
Cool. Ollie Edwards got a knockout to move to 10-0 against.
Yeah, he's now managed with the Nielsen's, and he was on the same problem they had on Friday. Show was cancelled, and we gave him a run out. He looked very good, but the opposition was really poor.
Yeah.
So
like Arsenal, Sheffield United.
Very much. It was like an Arsenal Sheffield United. The kid didn't hit back really. He was just trying to survive. But Ollie looked good. He threw lots of punches in clusters and bunches, and he looked good doing it, but he didn't beat much.
Yeah. Gian Ogres, a bit of an upset, lost to Kane Singh.
That again was, if we watched, Ernie was on first and Gian was on second. Gian is really talented. 2.5 rounds in, exactly the same thing happened to him as happened to Ernie. Exactly the same. Ran out of his stamina level, went from, he looked brilliant for a round and a bit. Brilliant. And then his stamina fell away. He lost because He lost because his stamina ran out. And he's got the same thing to go back to the drawing board with his trainer, Josh Burnham, as Ernie does with Nick and Xavier.
And then final one I've got on in, and one that I was particularly pleased to see the result of. Great young lad, Ellis Stewart, the first round knockout of CJ Wood.
So what he
First
done,
stop.
it was yeah. I mean, Wood didn't come out for the second. Basically, Ellis came out behind the jab, boxed really well, opened up a really bad cut on Wood's eye. It was a good punch, and basically he couldn't really see out of it, and the eye was badly cut, so they had to pull him out at the end of the first. So Ellis was very, very good behind his jab. Didn't take any crazy risks and just picked him off, landed one big punch, and that was the end of the fight.
Congratulations to Ellis' first stoppage.
Absolutely.
His career
Absolutely.
goes 7-0. Decent future.
He's going to be good. He's going to be good, and it's just about when you press the button. Because one of the things you do is when you get a talented kid and they haven't had much amateur experience, the kids do want to go faster, but his dad is super smart. He gets it. His dad gets it. So it's about
around long enough.
Yeah, Terry knows, and it's his boy. So it's about doing it at the right time. You know, we've done it loads of times before. It's about pressing the button at the right time, and that was a good step in the right direction. And hopefully, we make another in June. We go again, and we have another impressive performance. We start to build them up, and then we start to gradually moving towards titles. But he didn't have a lot of amateur experience, so it's really important that we don't put him in before he's really, really, really ready.
Yeah. Right, there's another card coming up this weekend, which is Goodwin boxing related. We're going to come on to that in a bit. Before we go there, though, you're on George Grove's podcast this week, right?
Yeah, going there tomorrow.
You become an elite club member. Is that the right term? I can't remember exactly. I do listen to it. I've sort of been sold on it since they did the Foch Grove stuff, and I started sort of picking
really
up.
good. It's a really good podcast. And I'm in London tomorrow for a meeting with Zach Shelley and a few things we've got to sort out there. And then I'm just heading over to their studios to do that in the afternoon. So I'm looking forward to that.
How did that come about?
Well, they just contacted me, asked me, would I go on there? I was meant to do it before, and I couldn't do it. And then, and I just said to them, come back to me in the new year. And then they come back and we could tie it in. So I'm going to do it tomorrow. So it'd be good fun.
Brilliant. So people look out for that. The George Groves Boxing Club, I think it's called, GGBC podcast. Check it out. Presumably you'll be next week. They tend to release them on a Monday, don't they, or Tuesday?
Yeah, they do. They do. Yeah.
Yeah, I was only listening to it this morning, in fact.
Very good.
So yeah, keep an eye out for that. And we're going to cut now to go and have a chat with Matthew Hirst. So Matthew Hirst is a professional boxing trainer and is also working on a project called Sports Collect. Matthew will be able to tell you far more about it than I will. So now we're going to cut to a piece we recorded with Matthew Hirst. And as if by magic, we have with us Matt Hirst of Sports Collect and also professional boxing trainer. So Matt, you introduce yourself because you'll do a far better job than I will.
As you just said, yeah, I'm a professional boxing coach. I'm the head coach of Lewis Oakford, who's going to be fighting this month, 5-0 cruiserweight. I also am the owner of Blast Fitness in Ealing and the kind of the creator of Sports Collect, which I'm here to speak to you about tonight.
Brill. So, I mean, before we get into that too far, tell us about your sort of route into boxing and your journey into boxing and your relationship with, as you say, Lewis Oakford and the boxing gym.
Okay, well, I suppose it goes back to when I was a boy. I started boxing around 13 in the Northeast in Berkeley, ABC. And I didn't have any fights then. I was kind of in and out of the gym, one of those kids. And then I joined the army at 16. I was hoping to do a bit of boxing in there. Didn't quite work out. In the army, you work to their schedules and not your own. And then when I left, I moved to London, went down to Fisher Boys, was training then. But then I started getting into personal training. And then I got my boxing, my amateur coaching badge, and then kind of just veered then into the coaching side of things. Got my professional licenses back in 2009. done loads of corners, gaining all the experience. Worked with Robert Lloyd Taylor as head coach, few other fighters, Tashan Ellis, and then here I am now with Lewis Oakford, and then I will have also Ed Chatty, who will be going with Steve as well, and having his debut in May.
Brilliant. Steve, what's Matt like to work with as a trainer? We'll get your quick flavour of him.
No, great. He's very efficient on the ball. Really, you know, he's very much hands-on. Great to deal with, not unreasonable, understands all the problems that we have, and he's very accommodating when we're trying to sort them out. It's really, really good to deal with.
Excellent. Yeah, so outside of the boxing, so something called Sports Collect, which is a brand new concept and idea. Again, I'll leave you to introduce it, and then I'll sort of ask some questions about it as we go along from the sort of naive perspective that I have on most things boxing. So Matt, sort of introduce the idea then of what Sports Collect is for boxers and sports people in general.
I suppose how it come about is anyone who is in boxing and is a trainer, they'll know one of the biggest issues that fighters have is ticket sales if they're novice pros, sponsorship. And so obviously Lewis is in the same boat. And it came to me one day and I thought, how can I help? How can I help him give up his day job, focus? You know, he's 5-0, as I mentioned. He's got a lot of potential. Hopefully, he can move on to big things this year. And if he was able to focus 100% on his boxing, he can definitely realize his potential. And I was looking at horses, and they have the model where you can have a part of a horse. And I thought, why can't we not do that with boxers predominantly? It actually works for any athletes, but the initial idea of Sports Collect is that anyone in combat sports, they can sign up to us, and then it gets them closer to their fans. So we put on Q&As with the fans. They get to have different events throughout the year. Obviously, you get to come to their fights, come to some exclusive spars, and so it gets the boxers closer to the athletes. Sorry, the fans closer to the boxers, and it hopefully gets the boxers some revenue. Whereas people can have a membership in a boxer is essentially the idea, and for that membership, you then get access to these great things each month. Oh, that kind of explains it.
So yeah, so from my understanding of it, it's like a subscription service whereby an individual might choose to subscribe to, let's say, Lewis Oakford, a monthly cost, and that monthly cost in exchange, you get access to, as you say, potentially sparring sessions, a bit of a meeting. Is that, I'm guessing?
Yeah, exactly that. So every month we will have something. It could be a sparring session. It could be a live Q&A. It might be a Zoom Q&A. You know, you might come and come to your birthday party for you as a surprise, and obviously come to the fights as well. There will also potentially be, if they get to that level and win a title, then there could be some cash bonus as well for your subscription.
Okay, so there's a potential that you get something financially back in that horse racing model, something financially back out of your investment.
Yeah, exactly. You could do if they get to title level, you can get a little bit back.
Yeah, but I mean, I guess that's not really the driver you're looking for. The driver you're looking for is to bring athlete and fan closer as sort of one.
Exactly, yeah. And it gives, obviously, selfishly, why it come about is to give one for Lewis, but for all boxers, the chance to get a monthly income, give up their day jobs if they are working, and solely focus on their sport and doing as best they can.
So is this yourself running it then, Matt, as a business venture?
I do have a partner in the Northeast called Pete Lowe. He's kind of like the digital side of the business.
You can say he's the nerd side of it, Matt, and then you're the.
Exactly. He does love his boxing as well. Yeah.
Steve, what do you make of it all?
Well, basically, I knew Matt was doing this because I was the first person to set up horse racing syndicates in 1992. And when I set up the horse racing syndicates, there was nothing like it. So Matt's taken that model and built it into boxing, which is something that I think could be a really big success. And we've spoken about it. I spoke about it to Matt many times before. It was something I thought of doing. I haven't got the time at all anymore to do anything like this. And it was something I thought of. And when Matt had thought the same idea, I said to him, look, it's something that I'd thought about years ago, but he's got the time and the drive to do it. And it's a great success because for boxers, they have the opportunity now to, with a little bit of work, to sell themselves in a different way. And, you know, boxers complain, as you know, Martin, they complain that they don't get the sponsorship, they don't call out their sponsors. It's a chance for all boxers to get assistance at all levels. And because the cost of people getting involved is not a fortune. So it's up to boxers now to use this really unique concept to drive support and revenue to them. So it's a great opportunity for them. But, you know, never, once this thing is out there, never should a boxer ever start moaning that he can't attract sponsors, can't do this, can't do that, because there is a ready-made concept now ready for them.
Yeah. It's also, it helps the sponsors as well. If they do have sponsors on board, it's going to push their brand out there as well further, hopefully.
Steve, you know, one of my biggest bugbears, gripes about boxers generally is their, and this isn't aimed at anyone in particular, I promise you, just generally boxers that are lazy to promote themselves, put the same things out, forget to mention their sponsors, don't engage with fans. Like, they're things that aren't hard to do. And I actually think, Matt, by doing this, what you're doing is focusing their minds upon actually having to do those things. Because people will expect something in return for if they're going to invest in you, they want to see something back. And I think that's a vitally important thing out of it.
Yeah, definitely. And I think it's going to bring the fans closer to the boxers. And obviously we will take care of the back end, I suppose, organising these meet and greets, organising, and then giving them an income each month. So as Steve said, really, they've got no excuse.
How do boxers get hold of you, Matt? How do boxers, if they fancy the sound of this?
Instagram. And then on the website.
And is that the same for fans if they want to come along and have a look and support, or just sort of generally take a browse? Same thing?
Yeah, so if anyone just gets in touch, tells us if they're which side they are, whether they're a boxer or a fan, we will, as we get more fighters signed up, they'll have a bio on the website, so people then can look through, choose a boxer who they might want to have a membership in.
Can you repeat the contact details again? Because I think there was a little bit of a stalling on that. There was a bit of an internet freeze.
So what you get for your membership?
No, where they can contact you.
Oh, so Instagram, Facebook, Sports Collect, and then online, www.sportscollect.net. And then
Brilliant.
just drop us a message. Tell us if they're a boxer. We'll put a bio. We'll put a link, any of their sponsors. We can put any fight content, any content. We can actually, the website is pretty good. They can even sell merchandise through their website if they want to. And then obviously the people who want to become a member, they can look at the fighters who we've got on board and then pick their person, and then they can just purchase it through the website. They get a certificate.
Brilliant. I love anything innovative that sort of takes away the burden of the boxer. Not takes it away, because ultimately it creates it as well, because they've then got to, as I say earlier, commit to doing things in return, which is great. Go to doing that, sort of the benefit to them is that they get that regular steady income hopefully out of it, and they become more professional out of it.
Yeah, you would hope that they want to actually engage with their fans. I would hope so. And so, yeah, this is a great way for them to do that as well.
Brill. Anyone interested out there, fan or fighter, find Matt Sports Collect online, on Facebook, on Instagram. Get in contact with him and get the ball rolling.
Perfect. I'm here
Brill.
ready.
Excellent. Thank you, Matt.
Thank you very much, guys. Thanks, Steve. Thank you, Martin.
Cheers.
So there you go. Right, that's Matthew Hirst. So yeah, Steve, sort of your model, not that he's copied it, of course, but inspired by the horse racing model, as he sort of acknowledges. You seem to be sort of on board with it.
Well, I'm glad. In principle, I'm happy with somebody doing it. Obviously, I've not had any involvement with what's set up and how the costs or the benefits. The principle is great, whether it ends up tweaking in time, because sometimes when you set up something new, it needs a bit of amending, maybe. But as it started, I wish him all the success with it, because anything that's somebody that comes out with something that's trying to assist boxers has got to be a good thing. And let's hope it's a success. But, you know, obviously sometimes, you know, it's going to take time to evolve and to work, but it's good that there's something there for boxers where they can try and use a particular model of something to try and attract something to do what they should be doing anyway, but a lot of them are not. That'd be a fair thing to say, I think.
Yeah, and sort of mentioned in there really that if it helps focus the mind a bit as to doing these things because you've got an accountability for doing so, then that's okay. I'm all right with that. We will come on to the Goodwin Boxing Show this weekend. Prior to that, though, a nice warm-up event for the Goodwin Boxing Show is the Friday night out in Saudi Arabia, Anthony Joshua, Francis Ngannou card. We'll be watching. Let's start with that.
I will be. There's some good fights on the undercard, isn't there?
I like Nick Ball, Ray Vargas. I think that's a cracking fight. Nick Ball, I mean, he did such a good job on Isaac Dogbo. Yeah, he's fun, isn't he, Nick Ball?
He's great to watch. I mean, Dogbo was gone. He was, you know, I said before the fight, he was finished. He was gone. They got him right on the down. But Nick Ball is really good to watch. That's going to be a cracking fight. Really good fight. I'm really looking forward to that. And there's some good fights. Gavin Gwynn fight's a good fight. There's some really good fights on there, things that you'd like to watch. So it's a great evening's entertainment, in my opinion. I mean, the top of the bill is the top of the bill. But, you know, whatever.
Yeah, what about Zhilei Zhang, Joseph Parker?
I like that fight. I fancy, I think Zhang wins. I think Zhang probably wins. But I think Parker has always been... I can't think, you know, I think is Dillian Zhang better than Dillian Whyte? I've got to say yes. And Dillian Whyte beat Parker quite comfortably, the size of him, and Zhang's as big as well. So I'd have to go with it. I think people are making too much of his win over Wilder, who I think was really not with it mentally, physically able, whatever it was. He beat a shell of Wilder, and that's my view. So I think Zhang will beat Joseph Parker. I just think that he'll just be too big, too strong for him.
Yeah, I think for many years people have sort of assumed Joseph Parker's on the decline, whether that's a hunger thing after being world champion, getting the Joshua money to sort of lose the belts, whatever it may be. And then maybe the Andy Lee link up has sort of reinvigorated him a little bit, being in Fury's camp.
Look at what Joyce did to him. Big man again. Yeah. The big men just outsize him, outman him. You know, Joseph Parker's not on the decline, but he's at a level, in my opinion. His level is that he gets beaten by the big guys, the big, and he beat Wilder. But you know, you've got to remember I can't think back what Joe Joyce did to him as well.
No, I don't disagree. I think Zhang will batter him. I can't think of a better word for it, really. I just think he'll get to him over time, and
that's what I feel.
And then the madness that is Joshua versus Ngannou as a main event. I can't see how it's even close. I mean, I know I'd have said the same thing about Fury and Ngannou, but I don't see how it's anywhere remotely even close. Like, I know that he shocked the world by putting Fury on his arse, but he's not very good. And I can't get over I can't get over that open workout before the Fury fight where he looked like he was doing sort of a PT session on the pads. And I'm not saying I want to get hit by Francis Ngannou because I absolutely don't. But I don't see how he causes Joshua problems.
Well, that's the end of it. That's really all you can say about the fight. That's it. It's just Joshua will beat him, and Joshua will then move on, and hopefully Fury and Usyk happens. I think Usyk beats Fury. I think he does, and then I think Fury might then pack up. He might go and do another match, but I'm not sure I want to see Joshua Usyk 3 either, because it's just going to be the same result once again. I'm not sure that floats my boat, but it is what it is.
No, let's be honest. All we want is for Fury to beat Usyk so that we get Fury versus Joshua down the line. That's the only thing UK boxing fans want.
I think that's fair. I think that's fair.
And if Joshua wins it, give us Joshua Wilder as a defense. Like, let us just tie off all those fights from that generation of fighters before they all disappear on us.
Yeah, I think that's fair. I think that's fair.
Which they're not far from doing, are they? Really? It's
they're all towards the end. But listen, they've given us a lot of fun, all of them. So, you know,
they've given us a lot of fun, but in return, we've given them a lot of money. And I almost feel, as a fan, they've got a duty to give us those round robin ones that we've not yet seen. Fury, Joshua, Joshua Wilder. I just kind of feel like for them all to retire without us seeing those fights.
Joshua Wilder, you're never going to see that fight now. Wilder's gone. So
I still want to. Hearn could sell me it. Hearn could sell me it. Don't worry about that. Still be the most dangerous man on the planet, or whatever.
Put Wilder in with a tomato can, get him knock somebody out, and then sell him again that he had an off night. Of course, that's what they're going to do.
Yeah. Other things from the world of boxing this week. None of us really seem to know the details, so I don't want to get ourselves in any trouble. But Dillian Whyte appears to have been cleared by someone. I don't know who, of having failed a drugs test. Just we get an announcement.
I don't want to talk about Dillian Whyte or any specific cases, but this drug test failing in boxing, people keep failing it twice. It just seems to be that everybody just wants to find a loophole to get out of drug bans, and if you've got the money, you seem to find a loophole.
Yeah, there is no strict liability. It's a bit of a fallacy, but there even is, and people mention it, but forget about it. It doesn't.
I think you said on Dillian Whyte's one, he accidentally took something because it wasn't on the label. So I read somebody's
supplements.
Because somebody said what they're now doing is making supplements without putting things on the label deliberately, so the boxer will say they've taken that supplement. That apparently, I've been told reliably, a boxer told me, so I can buy this supplement that doesn't have something on the label. So if you get caught, you can claim that that it wasn't in the label. Because, I mean, I've just lost all faith in drug testing, bans being imposed. I just have lost faith in the whole system.
All that I'll say is whoever made that supplement will presumably be getting sued for loss of earnings, raking in tens of millions of pounds by Dillian Whyte. And, that should be the case now. Other one this week, sort of a sad case almost. Watch it unfold. Ryan Garcia.
You don't think that, I mean, you do. There's one or two things. I'm hoping he's just doing it to hype the fight, but I don't think he is. I think there's something seriously wrong with him.
I think there's three potential scenarios. I don't know which one it is. Either there's something seriously wrong with him, he's doing it to hype the fight, or he's just a fucking idiot. As in, sort of Matt Letitia levels of believing aliens run the world and all this kind of stuff. Those are the three scenarios. Like somebody spends a bit too long on YouTube believing everything that they hear. Sort of there's an element of that. There's an element of something's not right up there. And it's, there was stuff that he was talking today about sort of childhood traumas and things that he's had. But then tagging in like Andrew Tate to come and do a live space. And like, of all the people in the world that you could come and talk about your childhood trauma and get a serious issue over with, would you really be going to Andrew Tate about it? I'm not convinced.
The question is, should he be boxing next month?
This is my thing around it, is that I don't feel as a sport, and this isn't having a go at Oscar De La Hoya or Eddie Hearn or Bernard Hopkins or any of them, but as a sport, should he be allowed to compete? Or is it just a greater good that somebody needs to say, look, I know there's tens of millions of pounds involved, but we can't let this young man in this mental state carry on and get into the ring to risk getting his head punched in. I'm not comfortable watching it, but
No, I'd agree.
yeah, it's a really sad state of affairs, and it doesn't seem to be getting any better. In fact, it seems to be getting sort of the direction of travel is getting worse rather than anything better.
No, I'd agree.
But yeah, it's quite a sad thing, really, because sort of my son knows Ryan Garcia and sort of doesn't look up to him, but knows who he is through all the work that he's done on Instagram, building his profile over the years, and to then see the unraveling of it all, sort of is a reminder of the pressures and strains, I guess, as well, that are put onto young men that probably aren't designed for it, frankly, or trained or coached for it.
That's fair.
Right, coming off that topic, let's go on to this Saturday night and things that have unravelled a little bit and things that haven't quite gone to plan this Saturday night. The card isn't what you hoped, is it, really? Not to say it's a disaster. There's still a few sort of rays of light, but
I mean, I'll just run through the problems they had. You had Ahmed Hatim had a battle of undefeated going on. The guy he was boxing changed his management group, and the new management group decided to pull him out. So that was that fight down. The Hatim team were really unhappy that they had an agreement in place, but that's a separate thing. They're just very unhappy, but they've had to go and do an 8-rounder. Yasser Al-Gainer was defending his Southern Area title to Oliver Duffy. Against Oliver Duffy, there was a problem that we alerted the team to in January, but it just was not resolved, and the fight was cancelled on Tuesday. So despite, it was a shame, despite the fact that everybody knew there was an issue, nobody sorted the issue out from the other end. So Yasser was left without a fight, so we had to get him in a quick 6-rounder. Tyson Gallagher was fighting for the Commonwealth title. Gemma Reg pulled out on Monday with illness. Another one went down. Tyson's now having an 8-rounder. Frankie Story was fighting Ryan Walker for the Southern Area title. Ryan Walker's not well. He pulled out. So that left us with a cracking fight. But Yusuf Kamari against Kirk Stevens, the Midlands area champion, who's beaten 4 undefeated fighters in a row. And that's the final eliminator for the English title, held by Lewis Sylvester, who was knocked out in his last fight for the British. The rule book says that when you lose a title the same weight, you don't keep the title, but the rule was not imposed. So in that event, we're still fighting for final eliminator rather than for the title. So whatever, I still don't understand that, but that's a separate issue. So, but there's still a cracking fight anyway, and the winner gets a shot at the English title, which is Lewis Sylvester. But I don't think Lewis Sylvester will, despite the fact of him holding onto the title, probably even defend it. So, once he gets his mandatory served on him. So we will just have to see. But I mean, for Yusuf Kamari, he's come back to us after being managed by Dillian Whyte for a few years, and things went a bit wrong for him. But now we're going to build him back and get him to where he should be, which is British champion and beyond at lightweight. So we're going to build him back to that. So this is just the first. We've had a warm up. This is the first step. Second step will be in the summer, and we'll just keep building him towards titles this year.
Yeah, and it is a rebuild project, isn't it? Sort of, he lost some of the momentum in his career that he previously had, but that's not a bad thing. He's still young enough that it can be rebuilt, and doing it incrementally in the right way is important.
Yeah, and we'll get him back. He'll be a TV fighter. He'll be back on there, but this time it will be done right, in my opinion, and we'll do it the right way. Obviously, he's got to keep winning. Kirk Stevens is no walkover, that's for sure. He's not coming to lose. But, if he's going where I think he's going to go, then in reality, he's got to beat Kirk Stevens, who is a really good fighter in his own right. But if we think Yusuf is what we think he is, he should win this fight and look good doing it, in my opinion.
We're going to quickly look over the rest of the card that's coming up for this Saturday. It was meant to be Lewis Oakford fighting. He's now been moved to a different card.
Yeah, 23rd.
replaced by Lewis.
Sorry, Lewis Haynes.
Lewis Haynes, that's it.
He's making his debut at super welterweight. Really trained by Archie Dublin. He is a real talent, and I really can't wait to see him. I love to see these real talents turning over and have a look at them in their first fight and thinking, like I did with Charlie Cooper, now that's something we can work with. Some disappoint, some don't, but I'm really expecting good things of Lewis Haynes this weekend.
Brilliant. Right, we've got Frank Arnold against Mark Butler.
Yeah, Frank's not mine. We're helping somebody again because there's so few shows on, and those that are, some are cancelled. So people come to us, if we've got spaces, we'll help them to put their fighters on because they're struggling to get on shows that stand the ground and do it. So that's a good actual fight because Mark Butler really comes to fight. Frank Arnold is the guy that was, I think he was on a Warren show and he got knocked out from memory. So he's obviously rebuilding under his new management, and we're happy to have him on.
Yeah, Billy Stanbury's coming up from the South Coast again. I like watching Billy. Good fighter.
We're doing him nice and slowly. Got a tough fight with Jensen Irving from Swindon. But Billy's building. We're building him slowly but surely towards titles. And he's 8-0. He's improving all the time. And I'm looking to see a good performance this week. And then we, realistically, end of this year, next year, maybe before, we'll title hunt. But he's going to drop to either welter or super welterweight for titles. So we'll have a good look at him. Once we get, we'll just keep developing, and then when we press the button, we'll hopefully win. He'll win a title and start moving up the title rankings.
Yeah. Dean Gardner takes on Richard Helm.
That's again Alec Wilkie. We're happy to help. Alec is one of boxing's good guys, and he trains Richard. He manages Dean, and once again, we're happy to help people when they're stuck and can't get on shows if we have space. Alec, we always help from the start. It's with Alec, we have a good relationship with him. We try and help him at the, with all the fights that we've got. Others will help if we got space, but Alec, we always try and get his fighters on when we can to help him.
Yeah. Goes back to the Richie Gray days as well, doesn't
Yeah.
it? The likes of him on when there's space.
Yeah.
Shaka Khan against Paul Cummings.
Yeah, so Shockey's 6-0 now. Got to start getting a move on. Really going to have this fight. Hopefully he looks good. And then we're going to have a look and decide when to press the button with him because he'll be 7-0. He had an injury interrupted career. We've got to be looking at titles by the end of the year for sure.
Yeah. Yasser El-Gainer, as you said earlier, disappointingly, his fight that was due to take place, and actually spoke with his trainer earlier in the week. He was so hyped for what Yasser was going to be showing, so I'm sure he'll still show it, but this time against Mikhailo Sovtis.
Yeah, and we've got plans for Yasser that hopefully we'll be able to announce in 2 weeks. So we've got big plans, and the fact that Oliver Duffy has pulled out doesn't change the plans that we're working towards. And
yeah, they are exciting plans. They're good plans. I know what they are.
Yeah, you know what they are. They're good. Yeah. So we're still going to. We're not vacating the Southern Area title. Let me tell you that. There's no way he's giving the title away. He's not going to give the title up to somebody who didn't turn up and cost him a lot of money this week. But he's not giving the Southern Area up because he's open for all challengers. But we want somebody who's going to not, that's going to actually fulfill a fight that we contract to. But yeah, we've got big plans.
Yeah, we've got a few here who aren't yours. Frankie Story against Marvin Solana. I've seen Frankie, decent talent, and Tony Pills lad.
Tony Pills. I mean, Tony's got 2 fighters on this card, Frankie and Ticey, and both of them, they lost their title fights in the last 2 weeks. Gutting for the Tony and his team. It's a shame. So yeah. Frankie and Ticey are having a run out now, but it's not the fights that they'd wanted.
And then the last one outside of Youssef, who we discussed Youssef. Another who's not yours, but close friend of yours, Mickey Amuz, Ahmed Hatim, was meant to be fighting. Another undefeated lad, and instead takes on Robin Zamora, which is still a good fight.
Yeah, I mean, he was pulled out. The guy called Adam Cope pulled out. They were in a final eliminator for the English. Then he had this other undefeated kid pull out. It's very frustrating for boxers. When people do this and they pull out of fights, it's quite damaging for the fighters that are sitting at the other end. They train, they do it, and boxers always play the victims, right? And it really pisses me off. Some of them are not victims. They cause damage to other boxers by their behaviour and what they do or what they don't do. And yet boxers will always wonder why those people that know they've done that don't really want to deal with them in the future. And they bring it upon themselves, some of these, and they don't care about other people. They just care about themselves, and what doesn't matter what damage they cause to promoters, to other fighters, they just carry on. And you know, to me, there needs to be some sort of thing. But from my point of view, you always remember who's done what and why. There are genuine reasons when fighters pull out of fights. When Linus Udoka was due to fight Aaron McKenna, he was really ill. So he was so ill. He couldn't have fought 2 weeks later, let alone that week. So that was genuine. And if that happens and it's really genuine and you get a serious illness, there is nothing you can do. But if some fighters fake an illness, or if they don't get their issues in order, and if they change their mind, or if they keep pulling out with injury and you think these injuries are not, that's a bit annoying. There are some fighters, like the Ryan Walker thing. Ryan Walker never pulls out of a fight. So when
Ryan Walker fight anyone.
Yeah, so when he pulled out against Frankie Story, that's genuine. That's nothing wrong with. He's just not well, and he's not fighting. So you can handle that. It's just other ones where things are maybe not so genuine along this whole routine that you something that's not good.
Yeah, and I give credit to Ryan Walker. That bloke will fight anyone in fights that he should probably not have been in through various stages of his career.
Absolutely.
So no, I don't doubt for 1 second that he would have fought Frankie Story.
Absolutely.
Bro, so there are still fights worth turning up for Saturday night. There's still some interest in, and certainly that Youssef fight would be brilliant. But yeah, there's still other fights worth it on the card. So get down to York Hall. Tickets on the door?
Yeah, there will be some on the door. The interesting 23rd sold out.
Has it entirely? Brilliant. Well,
10 tickets left for the 23rd.
Okay, so by the time it's going out,
ringside totally sold out. VIP totally sold out. There is not a spare seat ringside or VIP. Nothing.
Brilliant. Well, we may not be around to record next week. I'm undergoing surgery on Tuesday, so maybe I'll sort of sober up from it later on in the week. We'll record something, but I can't promise.
Yeah, exactly. But yeah, we've a lot to look forward to on the 9th and the 16th. We've got Brad Paul's fight for the British title against Nathan Heaney. So I'll record something next week with Josh if you're too poorly, and we'll talk about Brad Paul's because that's a big fight. It's a big career-defining fight for Brad. It's on the 16th.
That is huge fight for Brad. Brilliant. He's got the opportunity. He can just go out there and give it everything that he's got. I've seen the shape he's in. He's phenomenal as ever. Huge ass, Nathan Heaney, but I think we've sort of discussed it before. Not that I'm saying he's a soft touch, but it's a great fight to have.
It's a no-loss situation for him. He's a bookie's underdog. He's 5-2 against, so he's not a major underdog.
No, that's not miles off, is it?
Heaney's 2-5, Brad's 5-2. So it's not like these other fights are 8-10s on. So he's not a million. He's an underdog, but not a no-hope underdog. He's got a chance, a real chance, and he'll be a lot better than he was against Tyler Denny. Let me tell you that, a lot better than he was. He didn't perform against Tyler Denny. He'll perform this time.
Right. Well, hopefully we'll get something recorded for you next week. But in the meantime, take care. Enjoy Saturday night.